Introduce to you our keynote speaker, the Reverend Sharon Risher was born and raised in Charleston, South Carolina. She heard the call to ministry in 2002 and left North Carolina to attend Austin Presbyterian Theological Seminary, where she earned her Master's of Divinity degree. Sharon served as a staff chaplain and trauma specialist at Parkland Hospital and as associate pastor for congregational care at Rice Chapel AME Church in Dallas, Texas. On June 17, 2015, a horrific tragedy happened. Sharon's dear mother, Mrs. Ethel Lance, was killed in Charleston at the Mother Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church, along with 2 cousins, a childhood friend, and the others murdered in that massacre. Since that time, Sharon has been an advocate for revising gun laws and is a spokesperson for the grassroots advocacy groups Everytown Survivor Network and Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. She has appeared on CNN, BBC Radio, Good Morning America, and CBS, and has been interviewed or written for Time, Marie Claire, Essence, Texas Monthly, Vogue, and Vox. Her advocacy work brought her to the White House, where she witnessed President Barack Obama sign executive orders pertaining to new gun laws. Sharon has shared her story of loss, forgiveness, racism, and gun law reform with audiences across the state. Sharon has 2 grown children and enjoys reading, cross-stitching, growing tropical plants, listening to a variety of music. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Ms. Sharon Risher.
I'm gonna sit down. I usually have a podium, so I will sit, okay? It is definitely my pleasure to be here in New York City. I'm humbled and honored to be with you today. I met Miss Gloria when I spoke at Union Theological Seminary, and after my talk, Miss Gloria came up to me and we had a conversation. That conversation led to me being here today. I want to also thank her team and the September 11th families for a peaceful tomorrow, for bringing me here, and for you to have the opportunity to hear my story. I know you know the story, but you will hear the story from me. I'm here today as a proud daughter of the American South.
Yes.
A true Geechee girl, born and raised in the low country of Charleston, South Carolina.
Come on, Reverend.
I'm a product of the civil rights era, and my Southern black heritage has shaped me into the woman of faith that I am today. But like many blacks from the South, I am no stranger to the hate and intolerance that has unfortunately defined a large part of my African American history. On June 17, 2015, the most horrific thing happened not only to me and the 9 families of Emmanuel AME Church, but the whole country and the world. You see, that day, a 21-year-old white young man with hate in his heart and a gun decided that that would be the day that he would go into Emmanuel AME Church and kill as many people as he could.
Yes.
You see, this was premeditated because he did months of research and preparation. He visited Charleston several times, scoping out the church, finding the entrance, finding the exit, planning his deadly massacre. On that day, my family members and the other members were attending their regular Wednesday night Bible study. You see, the church had been packed full of people that night because the AME church had their regular quarterly conference. And this is where the churches out of that district come together to plan what would happen in the coming quarter for the Church Universal out of the AME denomination. The meeting ran over time. And there was a discussion about whether they would have this Bible study or not. The faithful few said, we want to have our Bible study. And that's what they did. They stayed. Here comes this little skinny little white guy saying that he wanted to join the Bible study because they were people of hospitality and people of faith. They invited this young man into that Bible study and sat him near Reverend Pinckney because that's what he asked, to be seated near the minister. After about an hour of studying the Gospel of Mark, chapter 4, the parable of the sower, they gathered holding hands in a circle with their heads bowed and their eyes closed. And this young man took his gun out of his fanny pack and started to slaughter them. They ran and they tried to hide under the tables, but all he did was follow them and massacre them where they were. This young man robbed my family and 8 other families of their loved ones. 5 people survived. 5 people have to live with the horrific tragedy that's imprinted in their souls and in their minds for the rest of their lives. Charleston lost 9 faithful community people. I continue to say their names because my mission in life is to let other people know, even though the rabbi said not to say it, my mission is for you to know that hate will not win.
Yes.
I call their names because their death was used for a higher purpose and always should be remembered.
That's right.
They are my mother, Mrs. Ethel Lance, my 2 cousins, Mrs. Susie Jackson, who was 87 years old, my cousin Tawanda Sanders, who was the youngest, he was 26 years old, and my childhood friend Myra Thompson. The pastor of the church, Reverend Clemente Pinckney, Reverend Daniel Simmons, Reverend Sharonda Coleman Singleton, Mrs. Cynthia Hurd, and Reverend DePayne Middleton Doctor. I pray that whenever you hear their names or see their names in print, you will feel empowered to help invoke change.
Amen.
I'm here today as an accidental activist An accidental activist is someone who finds themselves in a life-altering experience and spring into action for specific causes or issues. Not everyone starts out as an activist to change the world.
That's right.
But by bringing some change where they are in the communities where they live. Some of us have our lives shaped by change, quirks of timing, and strange coincidences like blatant acts of violence.
Yes.
Our unwillingness or simple inability to fully ignore the social injustices in this world propels us into action. This willingness to stand up is part of what the church has brought forth in me. I became an activist soon after returning to Dallas, Texas, where I lived at the time. After all the funerals I had attended, I had received a big packet of mail from the church. And going through this packet of mail, there was one particular envelope that caught my eye. I opened it up and read the most heart-wrenching letter from Lucy McBath, who is now Congresswoman Lucy McBath from the 6th District of Georgia.
Yes.
You see, Lucy's son Jordan was killed on November 23rd, 2012 in Jacksonville, Florida at a gas station. Michael Dunn, a 47-year-old white man, killed Jordan after an argument over the loud music that was coming out of the teenager's car. Dunn shot into that car, killing Jordan and leaving the scene. Lucy automatically began her advocacy work with Everytown for gun safety and Moms Demand Action, which is one of the largest grassroots advocacy groups in the United States. After reading that letter, she shared her personal telephone number with me, and I called Lucy, and we cried, and we talked, and we cried some more. I became involved in that most important movement for gun violence prevention because of what had happened in Charleston and what I felt the Lord was calling me to do. You see, this group is made up of more than 3 million people, which consists of mayors and moms, cops, teachers, gun owners. Any person in this America is a part of the gun violence prevention movement.
That's right.
Moms Demand Action in Everytown supports all Americans working together to end gun violence and build safer communities. These organizations have pushed legislation that more than 20 states have passed laws requiring background checks for all handgun sales.
That's right.
In my going around this country, I have said time and time again, prayers and vigils are not enough. We have to take action in a real way. We must become involved. The church and the communities must find a way to support each other in ending the devastation that gun violence put on our communities. We need prayers with feet, prayers with action, boots on the ground. Many people believe the gun violence we experience in this country is a political issue, which it is a hot political issue right now. But I just need you to know that we are not suggesting infringing on anybody's Second Amendment rights. This work is about trying to save as many lives as we can. We are trying to make sure that other families don't ever have to go through the pain and horror my family went through. But we know we live in America where gun violence is everywhere. No matter where you are, if you're in a church, in a theater, in a synagogue, but most importantly, every day, people are killed by gun violence. We find ourselves living in a time where the country is divided more than ever. People are living in fear and speaking out of their pain and confusion. People are being rounded up and deported, families being torn apart. African Americans and other people of color are wondering who will protect our rights under the Constitution. Who will ensure that all people have the same privileges and rights as the next person.